YTBC. This is your boy, Coach Shelton Harrison. And guys, I'm gonna dig right into this topic. Okay, Manny Pacquiao has kind of released a statement that he didn't have to go to surgery, that God healed his shoulder. Okay, I want to talk about the man that Manny Pacquiao is. I want to talk about his connection. I want to talk about his relationship with God. If many of you didn't know on this channel, I'm a devout Christian. Okay, now I know sometimes I use a potty mouth, but guys, not all Christians are perfect. And I'm just one of those people. They're not perfect. I believe in God. I believe in God, and I do believe that Jesus is the Son of God. I believe that. Okay, I believe that wholeheartedly with everything that I know. Okay, I just don't talk. I try to separate what I believe and just make videos. But I'm using what I believe for the purpose of this video to talk about Manny Pacquiao. That's what I'm doing. I'm finna tell y'all a story about why I'm so strongly rooted in my faith. It was a bright and summer day. It was a sunny day outside. Okay, it was in June, and I had three of my athletes out at the track. Three of my athletes and one athlete's little brother. We were all outside. The weather was sunny, y'all. We had no idea what was going to happen. It was sunny, bright. I'm talking about, and we started hearing like rumblings in the background. We looked, there were no clouds. And I'm thinking, well, how can it rumble with no clouds? Okay, zero clouds. We heard the rumbles again, and you know what? I said, guys, y'all scared of lightning. I started messing with them. I said, let's pack it in and let's go. So we were all walking toward the car. We were leaving. We were leaving the field. And then out of nowhere, okay, we heard this big old crack. I'm talking about this big old lightning crack. And, we turned around, and behind us, y'all, we were engulfed in a sea of dark clouds. But not only that, y'all, we heard the crack, and everybody started running toward the car. But when I turned back around, I noticed the little brother, he was on the ground. He had been hit by a bolt of lightning. And this is a true story. He had been hit by a bolt of lightning. It was the most terrifying experience of my whole life. Okay? And I'm going to tell you guys why. I walked over to this young man. This young man was dead. His shirt was split down the middle, okay, because of the lightning. Okay? When I touched his pulse, he had no pulse. When I looked at his face, his eyes were rolled back in his head, and his tongue was hanging out of his mouth. He was dead. He was certified to be dead. And people still to this day will try to say that he was dead. This young man was dead. Okay? Nothing. So his older brother picked him up, and we moved him out of the rain. But before he did that, I'm sorry, I looked up in the sky. Before I tried CPR, I said, God, if you are really, really real, I'm talking about God, no, I ain't joking around. If you are really the God that I've been worshiping all these years in church, I said, I'm going to ask you for one request, and I want you to bring this young man back to life in his body. That's what I said. That was my whole prayer. I ain't say nothing else, but I said it with a little bit of force. I said, God, if you're really the God that I've been praying and I've been learning and worshiping all these years, I said, the God that I've learned in the Bible, that I've been taught in my church, that God can bring people back to life if he wants to. I said, if you're that God, show yourself. And I said it. And so immediately I knelt down after that. I ain't say nothing else. My other athlete who followed me everywhere, she was still praying. She was still praying. And I knelt down, okay, and I looked at him, and, I started giving him CPR. But when I touched his chest, something was different. He had a heartbeat. It was a very faint one, but he had a heartbeat. So his older brother picked him up, moved him, from out of the rain. The paramedics had gotten there by this time, but me and his mom, we started giving him CPR. Okay, we started giving him CPR, and his heartbeat became a little bit more fuller. I could noticeably feel his heartbeat. Still wasn't breathing. Okay, so me and his mom kept taking turns breathing air into his mouth until the paramedics got there. When they got there, they put a breathing tube on his mouth, and he was breathing, and his heartbeat was still there. The paramedics, they couldn't understand why he was alive. Because really and truly in this day and age, if you get hit by a bolt of lightning, your chances of survival are very, very low. Okay? It was very, very low. And I tell you what, I don't care what any of you say. What I'm about to tell you next, I know that there's something up there. There's a creator or somebody up there watching each and every one of us. It has to be. Because I can't explain any other way. So, okay, everybody, they get to the hospital, and the doctors were pretty much saying that, you know what, it's a miracle how he's still alive, but you know what, he may be a vegetable because his brain is showing no kind of activity in his brain. Now, if you, as a parent, you hear that, the first thing that the doctors want you to do is take your own child off life support. But I love this mom to this day. She is the best mom in the world. She said, no, I'm not giving up on my son. And my son not giving up on his life. And those words right there solidified that I knew that I had prayed that prayer. I knew that what I had prayed was going to come to pass. I knew it. So a couple of days later, the boy's great grandmother. Now she's a known prayer warrior. I'm talking about known. Okay, known in the state of Ohio. I'm talking about people know her in Ohio, okay? She prayed. She got down and she said, listen, I'm finna go in here and do what I do. That's what she said. She said, I'm finna go in here and do what I do. Okay? She put doctors out of that room. She just put people out of the room. She put a lot of people out of the room that wouldn't pray, or she knew who to put out the room. And she prayed a prayer of faith. And I'm going to tell y'all this, and y'all not going to believe this, okay? After this woman got done praying, okay? This little boy, he sat up. He sat up. He took the tubes out of his mouth. He was gasping for air. Now, this little boy, he hadn't breathed in 4 days. His heart was beating. He didn't breathe in 4 days. He got up. He took the tubes out of his mouth. They had to put him back to sleep so he didn't injure himself. But he got up. He got up. And on the fifth day, on day 5, he was up and running around. Heck, on day 6, he was in my gym lifting weights. Let me tell you something. Manny Pacquiao. How dare you use the name of God, okay, to cover up your lie? How dare you? How dare you use the name of God? Because, see, I'm telling you what. That was a demonstration of power. Don't try to say because the doctors had given up on him. Nobody gave him a chance to survive except God. And I know one day on day 4 I was praying. Day 3. Day 3 I was praying. He was still out. He couldn't get up. Day 3. And I know this to be true because somebody came up to me and they came up to me in church. They didn't even know. I ain't even have a look on my face that I was sad. They came up to me and said, you've been praying. You have been praying, and God said He's going to answer your prayers in 2 days. Now, listen to me, guys. Again, I'm not the overly spiritual type. I'm just not, okay? But I do understand what I believe in and who I believe in. Okay? And I understand. I believe in God. Okay? And I know people will scientifically try to explain to me what happened. But I'm sorry, you're just not going to do it. And that's just the way that is. You're not going to scientifically explain to me how somebody got hit by a bolt of lightning, was dead, came back to life, was in a coma, and was brain dead, and now they got all their brain function? Are you kidding me? No, sorry. I don't care if you don't believe in God, and you can say this whole story. I don't care. I believe in God. So this is what I mean, Manny Pacquiao. See, that's faith. That is a power of faith. I'm not saying that he can't believe God, that his shoulder can get healed. But why does God have to heal something that wasn't already broken? How dare you, Manny Pacquiao? How dare you use your faith, okay, to gain sympathy from people? Shame on you. And this is the same Manny Pacquiao who he talked to God. He talked to God, and God told him that he was going to beat Floyd Mayweather. And God told him that Floyd was going to be handed into his hand. Manny Pacquiao, you know nothing about the God you speak of. You know nothing. You sit and you say you pray, you do all this stuff. But my friend, let me tell you something right now, Manny. You know nothing about having faith. Because if you would have had faith, you would have never, ever, ever put God on the stand like that. You would have never did that, Manny. You would have never did that knowing your own faith. And Manny, you don't know your own faith. You don't understand the God and how He works. You see, Manny, let me explain something to you. God is no respecter of persons. That's right. See, God don't respect you more than Floyd Mayweather Jr. because you pray more. That's just not how it works. Even in the Bible, God respected men who were sinners. If that's the case, how can somebody like me, somebody with a potty mouth, I say bad things sometimes, but I can pray and I have faith in what I believe, and the prayer happens. I prayed. I prayed that boy didn't die, and let me tell you something. God answered that prayer. Manny, you prayed that you beat Floyd Mayweather. Let's think about this. God didn't answer the prayer. Why? Manny, because you're a freaking hypocrite, man. You're a hypocrite. And you're trying to gain sympathy. You're trying to gain sympathy from folks. That's what you're trying to do. But you know what? The whole thing backfired in your face. You see, this was already planned in your head. This was already planned. And so you get the religious sector of your fans to follow you. It don't matter. It don't matter. But I tell you what, you're really making it bad for people that really do want to go to church. You're making it bad for people that really do, hey, they want to believe in some type of God. You're making it bad because you're making it seem like God don't answer prayers. See, what you were trying to get God to do, you were trying to get him to do something for you that he wouldn't do for Floyd Mayweather Jr. And I'm sorry, but God is no respecter of person. And God also say, Manny, that faith without works is dead. The man worked hard. Now all I see is he thank God. He thank God just like you do. So you mean to say now the same God that you serve, the same God that's supposed to be very, very fair and balanced, that God going to do more for you than he do for Floyd? See, think about that. You want to talk about Floyd Mayweather's sins. You want to talk about his sins, but you don't want to talk about your own sins. So wait a minute, Manny. So God forgive your sins, but he don't forgive Floyd's sins because Floyd is a bad guy. See, guys, we got to start putting this bull crap in perspective. And I tell you what, Manny Pacquiao, I don't care what you say. I don't give a darn what you say, okay? You don't believe in God. Because if you did, Manny, you would understand how God works. You would understand how he works. And I'm sorry, I saw God work, Manny Pacquiao. I saw him work firsthand. I saw him bring back the dead. And I don't care what you guys, what anybody say. You can come on here, you can make your goofy comments, whatever you're going to say, but I tell you what right now, I saw that young man come back to life. And every doctor on the planet scientifically that saw him said that he will not survive. He'll not survive. Only after a prayer did this young man wake up. Manny Pacquiao, you need to understand who and what God is. This is your boy, Coach Shelton Harrison. I'm done.